everybody. Welcome to the show today. I'm the host Sean, and today I have a special guest, Josh. How you doing, Josh?
Hey, doing great.
Hey, Josh. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and let them know where they can get a hold of you?
All right. Well, my name is Josh Snodgrass, and I'm a Christian guitar player. You can find me at my website, just joshsnodgrass.com, or I'm on, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all those places.
Great, and I'll put the links down in the description below for anybody that wants to click on it and get a hold of you because you do have a good YouTube channel. I've been using that for a few years.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for listening to keep me going.
Yeah, so before we get going with your background, I just want to say, let everybody know that I found you because my grandchild, my oldest grandchild, Charlie, was born a few years ago. And when my daughter and son-in-law were dropping him off while they were going to classes, like Tuesday and Thursday mornings, I needed some quiet time with the baby and, so he could relax. And I, lo and behold, found you on a YouTube channel and all the acoustic guitar was playing and I knew a lot of the songs. It was so relaxing. So it was such a blessing to be able to have that on YouTube.
That's awesome. I always think that calming effect it has on young children, if I could just somehow market that, I would do very well. Because I actually started playing when my boys were little guys. My boys are 18 and I'm sorry, 17 and 20 now. But when they were little, I'd play the guitar and it would calm them down. So I started playing a lot, right? Because they were wild. Um, but yeah, I've had a lot of people tell me, I thought, man, I should market this somehow to young parents.
I love it.
Need a little peace, put that stuff on, it works somehow. I don't know.
So, Josh, speaking of families and stuff, where were you raised and what kind of family were you raised in? A musical family or music, open to music type of family?
Yeah, well, my family moved around quite a bit when I was real little. Graduated high school in Montana. That's kind of where I consider home. And my family, we were musical, but we were not like, usually I hear musicians talk about how, like, oh yeah, my parents were these amazing musicians or whatever. We like weren't amazing musicians at all. We were really bad musicians, but we liked music. So we just, I mean, my dad especially, he would play guitar some and he had a lot of interest in music, but we were pretty bad. We just kind of do it for fun. It wasn't anything like, I mean, nothing even resembling professional music. It was very amateur, just kind of like more like back porch for fun, hillbilly kind of stuff. Um, yeah, yeah, I'd love to say it came from this long line of amazing musicians, but sorry, no.
Phil Keaggy's not your uncle?
No, nope. I wish that'd be great.
Kind of like the Steve Miller band where Les Paul was like his uncle or something. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, those
So
people
yeah.
have a real leg up when it comes to music. But I am thankful though. There's always instruments around, and I think one benefit of coming from a musical family that wasn't like didn't have this high bar is it's very approachable.
Hmm.
Really, when I was a kid, like if you could play G, C, and D on the guitar, you were a guitar player. If you knew F, you were a really good guitar player. So I'm like, I didn't know until later there's even other stuff you could do on the guitar. But that made it easy to get into. So as a kid, I was never like discouraged thinking, oh, I'm not any good or I can't do this. I was just like, wow, this is pretty easy, really.
I love it. And so, what type of music were you raised around? Were you listening to like the radios, genres? Were you watching MTV type things? Were CDs?
Yeah.
What was going on?
Yeah, great question. So, my family really like when I would go to church with my family, it was just like I would hear old hymns and things like that. And so that was kind of, and then when my family would play music, we were doing a lot of old things like, I'll Fly Away or so I Saw the Light, some of that old stuff, kind of bluegrass country kind of stuff, or just kind of old gospel hymns and things like that. But so that's kind of one side. But then the other side was I just loved music so much. And I had this little radio that I would listen to, and I would just kind of listen to whatever I could find on there. And a lot of what I would listen to back then was just pop radio in the, late 80s, early 90s. Whatever was on the radios, I was just listening to. And I just kind of liked all of it. So it's kind of these two different worlds of music, with the church music, hymns, and then the secular music, the radio. So.
That's great. Now, did you try other instruments and land on guitar, or did you just pick up a guitar and stay with guitar?
Yeah, well, so I started playing, my dad played guitar. That was like his main instrument. And so when I was six, I wanted to play guitar too. And he got me this little guitar and started learning. And then I kind of played guitar off and on. that's kind of my main instrument. I did experiment with a few other things. I played my mom had a piano and I would kind of tink on that a little bit. Never really could play very well, but I definitely learned a few things on it. And then we had my dad had this banjo he built. It was like a thing built out of like it was actually not a round banjo. It was like a hexagon built out of like wood. He had this kit, built it, and it was a 5 string. And so he got me the Earl Scruggs banjo book and gave me the banjo. That Earl Scruggs banjo book, which I've come to learn is the authoritative work on the subject of banjo. So I learned really to pick, like finger pick with that book playing banjo. And this was when I was like probably like 12, 13, 14. And of course, this was back, I think now the banjo is cool. Back then, it was so not cool. Like nobody I knew even like thought about the banjo. You know what I mean? Uh, it was like the most random, weird thing in the world to be playing a banjo in in the circles we were in at least. So I didn't really have a lot of passion for it, but it was there and I learned it. But I did learn a lot about finger picking from that book. And so but I hated the finger picks and things. I didn't like the way they felt in my fingers. I kind of scratchy sound. I wasn't doing it right probably, um, but it's part of my journey. So
I love it. I always thought of the banjo in relation to the guitar is similar to the accordion in relation to the keyboard. It's like
yes,
kind of like
yes,
it's
yeah,
like if you pull out an accordion at like a family gathering,
yeah,
people, oh man, like they gotta go. It's like
yeah.
it's like
Well, now
so
the
I
banjo is
feel
so
you.
cool again. So now I wish that
Yeah.
I'd stuck with it, and I'd be doing great now if I played a banjo. I'd probably be doing a lot better
Hey, I know
than playing the
musicians out
guitar.
here in Tulsa, out in Oklahoma, they're bluegrass through and through. Whether they're in churches or not, they're
Yeah,
playing out. They're doing bluegrass, and yeah,
yeah.
it's a big deal out here. So,
Oh yeah.
what was so who else like inspired you? Like, did you hear just other guitar players at churches or places out where you said,
Yeah.
this is a guy I can emulate, or did you just try to take the banjo learning you did and just apply it to guitar?
Well, I mean, for when I was a kid, there's like little tidbits that I would get that I would see I mean, when I was really young, there was this guy at church that played pretty well and he played totally by ear. And like he wouldn't look at a chord chart or anything. He would just play, he'd just hear where it was going. And I loved that. I wanted to be able to do that. And he kind of taught me a little bit. Then I remember, and I'm sure you remember too, when the Clapton Unplugged album came out. Well, that was on the radio, and I heard that on the radio, and I loved that so much. Loved those songs, listened to them over and over again. Um, and anything on the radio I'd hear that would have guitar in it, I really would latch onto. And it would be like some of the things I look back on and kind of laugh. Like I remember there's that song "Little Miss Can't Be Wrong." I forget the name of the band even, but
Spin
like I mean,
Doctors.
Spin Doctors, like, but the guitar in that thing cooked, and I loved that. I love that song. I mean, I, I I love the guitar in that song is what I should say. I listened to it and thought I'd love to be able to do that. And so there like lots of little things like that I've seen. And then I remember when I was just, yeah, maybe 12, 13, 14, I had a friend that I went to school with that had been my best friend for a long time. He could sing, and so he wanted to do a band. So he started this little band, and that was about we were listening to stuff like Nirvana and Green Day and all that kind of stuff that was real popular, Soundgarden, that kind of thing. But our band, we were really terrible too. We just it was so bad, and we just none of us really knew how to play our instruments very well. But we'd get together and have fun, and it was enjoyable. But I remember, yeah, that Nirvana. When I heard Nirvana, that really that was kind of a time too I was going through my life when I was encountering how hard the world is, and I think as we grow up, we all encounter like this place is kind of messed up, right? And so as hard things happened to me, I got like really angry about the world, and so I related to connected with like because that's what I think Nirvana is all about is being angry at the world because the world's messed up, right? So I heard that and I just like that emotion, that raw emotion that Nirvana had, and then how it was guitar driven and it was very approachable too. Again, it was like you play these bar chords, it's simple stuff. I could learn to play it pretty easily. And so I enjoyed that. Then yeah, Soundgarden stuff too. I really loved some of those songs. And of course, being in Montana, the Seattle stuff, it was pretty close. And of course, I get the Seattle stuff spread everywhere then, so the proximity probably wasn't the huge thing, but
It did
uh,
dominate everything, right?
it
It
did,
was
yeah,
wow.
took over the world right then.
It
Yeah,
was, I
like
mean, you
91.
got Nirvana and you got the Mother Love Bone influence prior to
Oh
that,
yes.
leading into
Oh
it,
yeah.
and then you got the Soundgarden, Temple of the Dog, and all that kind of stuff as it
Yeah.
progressed through. Like any type of musicology, you can find it all happen like a branch going out, and
Yeah.
then and then you see like the Eric Clapton one that you brought up was a big one for me, because the style that was going on there and the guitar work was pretty amazing, right? And you mentioned
It
that one
was.
earlier. Yeah, that's an
Yeah.
addicting one to listen to, even though that was totally different than like
Yeah.
Nirvana.
Oh yeah. When I was never like I've never been this purist that just listens to one genre of music. Like you mentioned the bluegrass purist or whatever. It's like to me, I am so scattered where I'll hear something and I'm just, I heard this gypsy jazz song the other day and I just loved it. I'm like, oh man, that is so awesome. I'd love to be able to play all those little runs and things. So I've always been very, I guess, eclectic in that sense that I enjoy music.
So, with that being said, did you go on to any like higher education with like a college music or anything?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, and I'll answer that in a bit of a story because so I mentioned in high school I was kind of angry and stuff, and I really just got more and more angry and destructive, and my life kind of went pretty crazy there for a little bit. And so when I was in late high school, my young adult life, I mean, I just really got twisted up with drugs and stuff because all these people, my heroes, that I was listening to, you talk about Kurt Cobain and can't talk about him very much with talking about the fact that he did a lot of drugs and things. And so I was, I thought, well, that's part of it, right? And so I went off into all that and had a few bands, moved around a little bit, trying to, just sure I was going to be the next big thing. Didn't have any success because we were just too intoxicated all the time to really know what we were doing. And then, but you're mentioning school, and so when I was when I was 20 years old, I decided, well, I thought that one of my problems is I didn't know how to record music. So we could play it live and do well, but I needed to learn to record. So I actually went to the Art Institute of Seattle um, and got a degree in audio recording and learned to use Pro Tools and how to work audio gear and all that stuff, which I had very little experience with before. And as far as like musical training, I mean, they did have like I think I took one music theory course there, but mainly it was technical stuff. And also when I was in high school, had lessons for about 6 months from a like classic rock type guy. He was trying to teach me some very advanced things that were probably like they were beyond me at that point. But now looking back, I was like, actually, that stuff was probably more helpful than I thought in the long run. Um, but like Joe Satriani kind of stuff or whatever, Um, but then, yeah, so I went to Bible college for a year, but did not study music there. So I would say my musical training has primarily been self-taught and primarily been through, I would say both listening, like a lot of listening and learning things by ear, and then also like kind of a weird mix of like YouTube lessons and things, just finding stuff on YouTube and thinking, well, how do you do this? Looking up, how do you do whatever technique, and then watching a bunch of videos on it. And um, but my style is certainly evolution of lots of self-taught listening, a lot of listening. You certainly don't have to go to school to learn music. I mean, you can. I think that that's a good way to go too. I have have some friends that have gone the classical route or school, classical education route, and they're amazing. One of my favorite guitar players is Tommy Emmanuel, and he has like no education in music. But I'm like, show me someone who plays more educated than he does. I mean, it's
Oh my
uh,
goodness. Have you heard
wow.
Adam Miller on my channel? Adam Miller's from Australia and played with them. And Adam's
Oh,
out
really?
all the time right now. Yeah, so Tommy, I'll just hook you up with some Adam Miller stuff.
Yeah,
He
that'd be
plays a
great.
lot of acoustic or electric, doesn't matter, but he was under Tommy Manuel in the 90s as a young boy playing live, and then now he's out.
Wow.
So I've seen Tommy Manuel a couple times at Tulsa. Incredible.
Yeah, I have too. It's like you're hard pressed to find him make anything that resembles a mistake on the guitar.
If he
It's
makes
amazing.
mistakes, sometimes you don't even know what's going on when he's just playing. He's just ripping and roaring. I think Bill Kagey and Tommy Emmanuel are probably my two favorite. Like when it comes to like acoustics and stuff. Like, oh,
Yeah, I'd have to say that as well. Yeah, I can't think of anyone that I would think that I would like. like better than those guys. I mean,
Incredible.
yeah, they both, yeah, just masters, you know.
Yeah. So let me ask you now, you went, you said to college and stuff, and then did you eventually
Yeah.
get married? Did you go back to like Montana type area or something?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, after I graduated in Seattle from the Art Institute, went back to Montana for Bible college for a year. That's where my parents lived. And while I was in school at the Art Institute, that's when I became a Christian. Kind of like drug myself through enough mud and realized, like, okay, I'm no good at living life on my own and give my life to God, and just, realized kind of I basically I was just messing everything up, and I was tired of living like that. The story's a lot like a prodigal son in scripture. I realized I'd be so much better off living life for God than I am making a mess of it on my own. So yeah, I went back to Montana for a year and then moved back out to Seattle. And I started while I'd been in school there, I'd start working construction kind of on the side to pay the bills while I was in school. And so just framing houses, and I moved back out and started doing that as a career. Met my wife, we got married, had a couple little boys, and I wasn't really doing much music. I mean, I was trying to, but it was hard, as a young, Seattle's an expensive place to live, and it was just a grind trying to just pay the bills and stuff. And so I was working a lot of hours and come home just dead tired. Framing is a heavy job, especially working a lot of hours. And back then, even through the recession, like you had to move fast, you had to run being a framer because there weren't a lot of jobs around. So it was hard. But when my boys were little, though, like I like I was saying, I couldn't really get out the electric guitar or anything else because they would just uh I just couldn't. It was like wasn't worth getting it out to leave it set up, and my boys would want to get a hold of stuff and get a hold, mess with the chords and things, and so I would just get out the acoustic because I could just get it out quick, put it away quick, and started playing a lot more. And this would have been back like starting in 2006, 2008. And so I started playing a lot. And I realized at some point there that I think I have a gift for the guitar. Um, and I, started playing the worship team at our church and started kind of like, and I did a search for like world's best acoustic guitar players. That's when I found like Tommy and Adam Rafferty and some other guys like that that were real popular on YouTube at that time. And so I started like just like trying to, and then there was a time that was just explosive for me there in terms of learning, where I was just like um, trying to learn this style as quickly as I could because I'd always kind of been like when I'd had bands, you get frustrated, the band breaks up, or like you can never keep something going, and I could never like when I was a kid growing up and stuff, I couldn't sing really, and so I wanted to be able to make music that was music just in and of itself, right? And so fingerstyle, I'm like, oh yes, this is it. This is the thing I've looked for all my life. And so I was trying to learn and trying all sorts of different things. I tried the percussive stuff, I was trying to play the jazzy kind of stuff like Tommy, like learn Travis picking and I was trying to learn some of the stuff Adam Rafferty was doing. And and it was all too complicated for me. I think one problem guitar players often fall into is someone's like, "Ooh, the guitar is cool," and they start playing the guitar a little bit, and then they just immediately shoot for the moon. And instead of trying to learn something more approachable, they'll go straight to, Van Halen or Tommy Emmanuel or whoever, and then they struggle to play it well. And then when they play it, other people are like, they compare that to the original artist. They're like, that doesn't sound that good. So it's a lot better to, I mean, I always tell people if you can find something that's like not, if your level's here, maybe find something that's there, not like just astronomically above where you're at. Because it's just kind of a big waste of time and it's frustrating. And really, I think you end up making more problems for yourself in the long run. Because I know for me, when I was trying to play all that really complicated stuff, I wasn't playing the rhythms right. And like, so I got in the habit of really having bad rhythm because I was trying to play this super syncopated stuff that I didn't even understand what the rhythm was to begin with. So, but yeah, I played there for, learned some of that stuff and had to really, I got to the point where I was trying to record stuff and I wanted to, do all this crazy stuff, but I ended up having to just like completely break down my style, like kind of, just really forget all that fancy stuff and just go back to, I'm just going to try to play like a bass and melody note at the same time and have it be in time and sound good, like good tone and that kind of thing. And that, like coming out of there, um, kind of gradually learning different songs with that kind of like bass and melody approach was really what led me to where I am now. And now, I've learned to work in different picking patterns or different parts and things, but um, and eventually I may get to, I guess, doing more complicated things, but the other thing I learned is people really like to listen to songs they can recognize and they like melody. And so if you're trying to play, but one thing I think is interesting is like you go to like a Tommy Emmanuel concert, and basically everyone there is either a guitar player or a guitar player's significant other, right? And so if you want to appeal to people that are not guitar players, it's probably better not to play like Tommy Emmanuel because he's like the guitar player's guitar player. So if you play songs, if you play the melody, you play the chords, whatever, you play songs that people like, you play a melody that they can like identify, that they could sing along with, that they could feel, and that will move them, they're going to actually like it more than if you play all this complicated, crazy stuff that they don't even understand or care about.
I love it. So two things in this I'm hearing. One is you want to start with a good foundation in order to
Totally. Yeah.
build upon, which is a good
Yeah.
life lesson, right? On
Yeah.
foundations. So,
Yes.
yeah. So in like framing, like you're talking
Oh
about,
yeah.
I've been a
Yeah.
general contractor for home remodeling and industrial remodeling and stuff, and so like I know what you're talking about. It's kind of like that. If the structure is off, and you start building, it's gonna be off, and then people are looking at that final product. Now you're being hard on yourself because people don't like the final product. Whereas if you can just deconstruct a little bit and start working the right way up, like
Yeah.
you're saying, yeah. And so the other thing is the idea of appealing to the people's sense of melody in that, because it's like I was never a big Beatles fan growing up in the 70s and 80s. I was more Journey and Toto and that. But then when I started playing coffee shops the last couple of years, it's like, oh, I can just take a Beatles song, you know, and
Totally.
here comes the sun, and nobody would care if I'm doing a Phil Keaggy whatever Tommy Emmanuel thing, but all of a sudden I go into like a here comes the sun, just make it simple, start looping a little pad in the key of whatever D I'm playing in, and it's just like everybody's singing along and they're on their phones like, wow, that was so good. I'm like, okay, that took me like 5 minutes to figure out how to play
Yeah.
it, but the other stuff took me 6 months and I didn't do good. So there's a
Yeah.
lesson in that, right? Being a little more
Totally.
simpler, building upwards.
Yeah.
Nothing
Well,
wrong with the other stuff, but
no, there's nothing wrong with it. And that's the thing I think that we just like, as musicians, we see the things we like and we think everyone else should like it too. And then we think if I can't play like as good as that person, like I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody at a concert, I mean, I think the most common response at a Tommy Emmanuel concert to people, like people, people's most common response is, I'm going to go home and burn my guitar.
yes,
And I
yes.
know exactly why they think that. They think that because they had ambition to be a great guitar player. And you see Tommy play, and you're like, wow, I will never be a great guitar player. And so if that was your ambition to be great, well, the bar is a lot higher than you think. But if it's like you want to like enjoy music, you want to like make music people enjoy listening to, um,
I think it's
the
right.
bar is not impossible. You can actually do that. So it's just it's a
I
matter of
agree
what your
with you.
goals are.
And I feel like when I played out at coffee houses recently now, and I'm just learning the last few years a lot more intensely in music theory and how to apply it. And I start simple, and I think to myself, like, if I sit down and I only have a 15-minute window, like it's an open mic kind of thing. I sit down with my looper, my Taylor, I start playing, I think to myself, I might not be as good as Tommy Emmanuel, but then again, he's not playing tonight and he's not here. So I'm here.
Oh yeah,
So I can only bring
totally.
what I bring. In the scriptures you talk about the five and the two, the 5 loaves and the 2 fish
Yeah,
and stuff. It's like I can only bring what I can bring, but it needs to be nutritional in order to
yeah,
start there. So if I start with a simple 2 chord looping thing, a 2 to a 5 maybe, just loop, and then I just start
yeah,
playing around with it. And I put my phone out in front of me so I see the timer going, so I don't want to go too long with it, about 3 minutes maybe at most. I just loop, 2 chords, and I start playing around with the 1 3 5s and kind of come in at different. And all of a sudden, you're just kind of done. You're like, that's all I brought tonight, and people are like, oh man, that's so cool. And it's just like, I mean, it's that simplicity of like, well, these guys aren't playing here, and those guys are not going to play in all these places that maybe I'm playing in, like little churches and startup
yeah.
places where you're going. Tommy Emmanuel and them might not ever, they would never even go with an invitation. Maybe it's for you to go.
Well,
What do you
the other
bring?
thing is that we're each individuals and we each have our individual strengths and there's it's funny. There's people I've played, I've done concerts or whatever, and I've talked to people. They'll tell me, "Oh, you're a great guitar player," and it's like, "Oh no, Tommy Manuel's a great guitar player." And then they'll be, "I don't even like Tommy," and I'm like, "You prefer my music to Tommy Manuel's? I'm ready to tear my robes." I'm like, "That's ridiculous," But the
Set what?
but people like different things, and so there for all of us as individuals, there's something unique in our music. There's something unique, and I would like encourage everyone like find the thing that's unique about you and how. For me, when I try to play the really fast stuff, my rhythm inadequacies came out. I'm not real gifted at like super intricate rhythms, but I can play with like soul and touch, and like a sense of presence. And so when I play the slower stuff, I notice like people like would be crying. I play a slow song and people would cry and so, or they were just really feeling it. They come after me afterwards and tell me how much it meant to them or whatever. And so um or some of the original things I would do. That's the other thing too. For me, probably I think when people listen to my YouTube channel, I think a lot of people maybe don't realize it. Some people do, but I think one thing that makes it different than some of the other channels that are similar is that like there's a lot of little like interludes and things that are original melodies and all that and chords. And so those kind of frame the songs, put a little intro at the beginning, go into maybe a little bridge that I wrote, put a little thing on the end. And it like makes you think about the song in a different way because there's this original piece that was kind of like presenting it differently. And so that's kind of like when I think about my music, I think that that's my like specialty or the thing that I do differently than other people do. Somehow when I'm working on that little arranging piece, I come up with different things than other people would do. And so I think that a lot of people they listen to my music because of those little things. But that's my thing. And I think that everyone, you have to kind of find your sound and find what makes you unique because you can stand out with like your uniqueness as a person, as a musician can make you uh, fresh, just and in this day and age, especially, you're dealing with social media and there's a million guitar players. Who cares how good you are? Like, I mean, you can go find some 6-year-old kid on YouTube that plays way better than you or I or anyone watching this does, probably. But so if you're just trying to be great, it's like, and then what defines great? It's like an endless empty pursuit. Like you'll never know that you made it. It's just a hopeless thing to try to be great. And I think that you just got to make music you enjoy and that speaks to you and that people connect with and just enjoy doing it. And people can come along or not, I guess. That's the
I
thing.
love it.
You don't
I
have to
love
have
it.
a huge audience or anything.
I also think this can lead us into gear
Ah,
because
yes.
I've gone down the gear rabbit hole on purpose. When I started playing a few years ago, on purpose, I started off with an ME. I had in the closet a Boss ME80 electric guitar, multi effects
Uh-huh.
Boss thing. And then I started watching all these cool YouTube shows like that pedal show and all these things. I'm like, and Sean Tubbs is doing demos and all this, and I'm like, oh, there's what's this thing and what's that and why is this? This plate reverb sounds different than this one, and what's this
Totally.
ambient reverb for church stuff? Wow, and so then
Yeah.
I went down the rabbit trail, and eventually I even met Keeley. Robert Keeley's in Oklahoma, so Keeley pedals and Keeley effects, and I mean you got Boss, and in my opinion you got Keeley right there under him, and I was able to go out there, meet him, hopefully go back again. He's a friend now, I have a whole pedal board now of just Keeley down below my
Oh,
keyboard.
nice.
My key, it's all Keeley stuff except for the volume pedal. That's something else, but Dunlop. But then I have another board with all my whatever else, MXRs and Strymons and all that stuff. And then sitting here on the table, I have an FM3 fractal. So as I'm getting into that, and then I have modeling amps so I can Bluetooth through and all that. My point is if you hear somebody you like you go to a concert, maybe Tommy Emmanuel, but let's pick more of a rock guy. If you go to like a Toto and you see Steve Lukather up there jamming, and you go home, you're like so inspired, and then you go on Instagram and see a shot of his pedal board that night, and you're like, oh, I need that Catalina bread echo like he's got, that echo. I need that space echo. Oh, I need that thing here. And then you put it together and you don't sound anything like him. You just bought all this because you want to sound like Steve Lukather, right? So I
Yeah.
think, right? I think, don't we get into that as guitar guys? We're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa, what is he using? And that happens sometimes with gear. Now, on a good note, I ask you your opinion on this. On a good note, you can see somebody playing an Olson guitar like Phil Kagi and look into it and go, now they're pretty expensive, handmade. and it does sound good when you play one live, maybe I will buy it and use it. Or I saw somebody playing a Taylor at one time and I thought, okay, or a Breedlove, whatever it is. And I encourage people to go, if you see somebody playing something, you like their sound, go to a place if you can. We're blessed with like 6 guitar stores here in Tulsa area. So just go
That's awesome.
find something like that. Go try it and see. Maybe it will pan out for you. You don't know unless you try it. But don't get into, like you were just saying, don't get into the rabbit hole of I want to buy all this gear to sound exactly like this guy, because it'll never happen. It's a hopeless cause.
It is a hopeless cause.
So what do you play? So what do you play?
Yeah,
Tell us what brands you play. What kind of guitars and equipment you play.
yeah, great question. So for my guitars, the guitar I use most actually is a Zager ZAD 900. Love that thing. So easy to play. Sounds great. Recorded it a lot. Then I have a Taylor, I think it's like a 210 CE that I play some, and that's one I've been. If you've seen in my videos recently, I've been playing that a lot. There's two reasons for that. Number one, the finish doesn't reflect. It doesn't reflect the lights because it's just kind of a matte finish. So actually, it's like not because not because it sounds better than the other guitars. It's just purely for the light. But the other thing is that was guitar too. I didn't mind drilling a hole in because I put in a sound hole pickup, and that one and that's been something that's been big is using both the piezo and a magnetic pickup. We can get back to that in a minute. I got couple other guitars, got a Maton that I've been experimenting with. The sound, I love the pickup in that thing. Don't love the way it sounds when you just play it in the room. It's kind of a little more, it doesn't have the same presence as the other guitars I mentioned. For a long time, the only guitar I had was I had a Takamine, Koa-wood Takamine. See that maybe in some of the pictures on my website. It's very brilliantly colored and things, looks amazing. But my problem is the strings are too close together at the nut, and it's just my big fingers have a hard time with it. Sounds great, and the harmonics on it are really stunning. So some of my older recordings that have like a lot of harmonic sections, that sounds really cool. But I just have trouble getting all bunched up playing that thing. So yeah, mainly the Zager I play now. But yeah, about this magnetic pickup deal. I saw Mike Dawes actually do a breakdown of his pedal board a couple years ago. And it was interesting. It was he was interviewed by somebody from Billings, Montana, so I had that connection. But anyways, he was talking about using the magnetic pickup in addition to the piezo pickup. I think his might have a microphone in it too. Maybe it's a mic piezo kind of mix, but he was using the magnetic pickup separately to initiate effects because he felt like it tracked better with the effects pedals. And that was kind of a breakthrough for me, I think. And recently, I've been doing so for the longest time. Hundreds of my recordings are just like two large condenser or two large diaphragm condenser mics and the piezo. Like, so I pan the mics hard right and left, put the DI in the center and, put some some plate reverb on there, some compression, that kind of thing, and go pretty simple with it. But then recently I've been trying to, especially with just the proliferation of copycats and then AI music and everything. I've just been trying to I want to have a unique sound. I want to do things, just try to push it and experiment a little bit more. So I started doing this magnetic pickup thing, and I love it. I think it's so cool. I mean, even if you just record, maybe probably if you're recording fingerstyle guitar, don't do away with the mics, but if you have the magnetic pickup, you run it through some pedals. I've been experimenting with I don't have like my pedal board set up in such a way where I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. It's got to be that pedal or whatever. But it's just whatever it is, I've been using the magnetic pickup to go to the pedals is the way to go over the piezo for sure, as far as my experience goes. But the other thing is when I run through the pedal board, I'll actually put it through a DI and record the magnetic pickup direct as well. So this last time I recorded, I had six inputs that I'm recording guitar with, two mics, piezo, I've got couple of different lines coming off the pedal board, got the magnetic pickup direct, and I just get in there and just mess with all that. And of course, you got to watch your phase issues, but the way I fix that is I just, run the magnetic pickup through a Boss octave pedal and drop that down. And so that's like my low end. And then everything else, I just cut the low end off of completely. And so then, the phase issues are basically gone. But you do have to, if you're recording guitar, with a lot of sources like that, you do have to kind of like think, well, I'm going to pan this, I'm going to pan that, and you have got to watch the EQs and stuff because once you start piling stuff up, it can really get weird. But it can also make the guitar sound way bigger, because really the thing is with the acoustic guitars, like when I played in this room, it sounds amazing, and I'm just like, oh, I love the sound. I go and record it. I'm like, that doesn't sound so amazing. I mean, it just like, and the reason why is because, of course, like the microphones are not as good as the human ear at capturing, I mean, they just, all the stuff, the preamps, the effects, it's just all got its shortcomings. Um, it's kind of like a photograph. If you go out and you like take a picture of a sunset, you look at the picture, like it's never as good as the sunset was, right? So I always
Or the
wish people could,
moon. It's hard to capture the
yeah,
moon.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
totally. But man, that's the way it is with music. Like I always wish people would just sit here and, if they could hear the way it sounds right here, that'd be great, but they can't. So I'm always trying to like capture that as much as I can in the recording. So having all those different sources, it helps kind of build it, like bring it back to life after it's been captured, so to
so it's
speak.
kind of like you
So
get this full sound in the ambient air, and then it's
yeah.
kind of getting funneled through into this recording. Then you're widening it back out through your
Yeah,
techniques in order
trying to
to
bring it back to life.
try and
Totally.
bring it
Yep.
back to that initial sound that
Yep.
you're hearing. And it's like I've recorded too much with delays and ambient reverbs before, just and literally like with my iPhone out, and there's some shorts of me where I'm playing in front of my
Mhm.
fireplace, and I
Yeah.
have a like 12-foot ceilings in my living room and it's an open floor plan, and so in the room it's like incredible,
Yeah.
or I'll do wet dry or stereo 2 amps, two small sparks, and it's just like in the room it's incredible. Oh
Yeah.
man, people are when people do show up, they're just like, that is so cool. And but yet you record it, and somebody on there right away, one of the first comments is a guitar guy going, it might sound good live, but online it just gets muddled.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, he's right. Like the notes are
Yeah.
kind of muddled with, ambient delays and stuff.
Which is the worst thing.
Ah,
For my guitar playing, it's so much about like resonance and, uh, and I mean, you just want that guitar to just really be alive.
I love it. But you do
And
a
it's,
good job, Josh. I gotta tell you, like, and I don't want to discourage you at all. So
oh,
keep
yeah.
doing what you're doing and don't
Yeah.
stop. So you can kind of just edit this out of your brain right now. It's kind of,
Yeah,
but
sure.
this is like the lawyer standing up, and then the judge says, strike that from the record, but they already heard it. It's like on TV
Yeah.
shows, the guy
Oh,
throws it out
sure.
there on purpose for the
Yeah.
jury to hear. But the
Uh-huh.
thing is this, like, you do all that work, and then somebody like me is just listening on my TV, my 90-inch or my 60-inch TV. It's
Yeah.
like, now I have a sound bar with Atmos sound, so it does sound better now. But few years
Yeah.
ago, like when I was saying, like with my grandkid, it was just like I just had that going. So it's like it probably didn't come across as well as you were recording it, even though you put all that
Yeah.
work into it. It's coming through
Totally.
just like a TV, like a little stereo TV speaker thing. So
I know that's the funny thing is that you talk about like you in the room it sounds amazing. You record it and it's not as good. And now then you put it on a phone speaker or a laptop speaker or something. You're like, wow. I heard somebody say about how we've got like the best technology in human history to record music and the worst delivery devices now,
Well,
And
it's funny though because the sound bars I can link them now. Like I have a
yeah.
Samsung TV with a Samsung sound bar with Atmos sound, and I can link them together now, like the dual sound bars, and it can sound really good in the room now. But I want to ask you this question: so many people, like on one of my favorite channels, Rick Beato, which most of us watch
Uh-huh.
Rick Beato stuff,
Yeah.
and he always asks people when they mix it, where do you test listening to it? And a lot of guys end up saying in their cars. A lot of guys our age would say they go out to their car after they mix it all. Excuse me. And now it's turned into like phone too. So they listen with their AirPods on. So where do you test your sound? Do you listen with AirPods? Do you have a nice stereo setup, studio setup, or do you go to the car, or what do you do?
Yeah, great question. So I mix actually on these earbuds here. They're just wired earbuds. I think they're like $100. I don't even know what brand they are. I'll mix on those, and then I also have some Sony mastering headphones. That all so like and they both those are a lot fuller with the frequencies and things. So I got to watch and make sure the bass is not out of control using those. And then with these, I'm like listening for where's that annoying frequency, because these are tend to be a little bit more brighter. Um, but then I'll also listen on our TV, which does not have good, doesn't have a good setup. I mean, I'll just listen and see like again, I'm always listening for that frequency. It stands out, just makes you miserable. I do like to go to the car.
The high mids and the
Yeah,
acoustic.
I like to go to the car and get and while I'm driving down the highway where you've just got that kind of sound, I like to listen, and especially in mastering an album, I'll do that because then that will show you that song's too loud, that song's not loud enough, or that little part drops out. Because once you get that background sound in there, then it shows you, especially the mastering volume. That's a great place to see. And then also for me, it helped me see if the bass is out of control. It's one
That's
of the most
true.
important things mixing is the bass. You know, it's just so easy to be, I'm listening to my little earbuds and I want more bass. And you go and you put it in the car and you're like, like, I don't think fingerstyle guitar is supposed to sound like that. Right. So gotta be
So
careful with the bass.
explain to everybody though, like like most of the albums. Now I've created my own playlist with your stuff, and I
Uh,
shared that with you before we came on the interview. I use your music all the time. Like people come over, it's great background music. It's I like listening to it. It's great. But like explain to everybody I that don't know that hasn't heard your stuff. Are you using multiple instruments? Do you have guests on there? Are you using drum tracks? Or do you have like a click going in the background, but it's just obviously not in the mix? How are you doing all that?
Great question. So my stuff is almost all, I mean, like I've recorded hundreds of songs and all but maybe like two of them are just solo guitar. So it's just the guitar. There's no overdubs. It's just like all like I'm just recording it and that's the way it sounds like when I play it live or when I play it on the recording, it's the same deal. So um the yeah, so there's, I mean, I think I've done a couple of collabs with Phil Keggy, so that's been obviously then there's two guitars. That's been awesome work with him. He's so talented. I feel like his superpowers, he always plays the most tasteful note possible. You know, it's just like he just plays whatever's perfect for the situation, which is an amazing gift. But other than that, other than the songs with him, it's just all guitar stuff. And I guess I do have a few recordings out where I sing or my wife sang or something, but mainly what I do, I think I have like 18 albums that are instrumental. And so yeah, my YouTube channel, like you mentioned, is background music. That's really what people are using this for, that they're just like putting it on their, like, I don't know, put it on their speaker while they're working during the day, while they're sleeping at night, or while they're going about their day, while they're working in the kitchen, whatever it is they're doing, they just put this music on and they just let it play for hours and hours. And so that's why on YouTube, I have a bunch of videos. I think I have one video that's like 12 hours long on YouTube that people can just put in, they just listen all day long and I can make my third of a cent, right? So um that's the way it goes. It's funny. But
As we're posting this on YouTube,
yeah, I know. Yeah, so we're posting
it's all
this on
right.
YouTube.
Who's listening?
Yeah.
I don't know who's in charge of YouTube. If you have a problem
Yeah.
with it, like I've got problems. Your music got blocked on my latest short. I made a
Really?
short and I was drawing and stuff, and I used your music in the background, and I happened to go over a minute long on the video, and it blocked it. It just took it down. I was just like,
Yeah.
what? You know?
Well, you know that that is so I mean about YouTube and some of your if any of your listeners that we can go into this a little bit if you want, but I mean I could talk a little bit about YouTube and music and some of the challenges and stuff if you think that'd be interesting. If not,
Yeah.
that's totally cool too.
No, that's fine. You can go there, man. Go for it. I'm not
Yeah,
pressed.
so with YouTube, it's interesting because you know there's the content ID system, which is like should be a good thing and kind of is a good thing, but it's got a lot of shortcomings because you know you got to think like YouTube is enormous and it's not just music, it's all the different stuff that they're trying to keep everybody all the rights, making sure people are getting paid and things. But it's kind of a challenging system to deal with because of the complexity. And so you got musicians. So basically, when I started doing music on YouTube, I was using CD Baby at the beginning, and I would put my music on there, and it would go through the content ID system. And so when I started doing long videos, my videos would get blocked by CD Baby, which are working for me, right? So I'd have to go through and apply to have them, removed and all that. But then uh, so basically what I was going to talk about is how there's like all kinds of piracy with music. And so when my channel blew up and got big, like a couple of years ago, I was getting like, a couple of million views a month on YouTube. And it's just like lots of people, were aware of it. And then there basically I started having insane problems with piracy. Just like people taking my YouTube videos, uploading them to their channels, just trying to get monetized, all this. People taking my music and making videos just like mine with images that look just like mine and posting to their channels. And so like now I'm competing with my own music on all these other channels. And so I and of course you can go and have it taken down, and I try to do that, but those battles got so much. It's just like a game of whack-a-mole. You hit one and, several others pop up. And so I ended up having to, but see, the thing is, I was gonna say about YouTube is this is kind of a top-down thing. Like the record labels, they've got access to the content ID system in a different way than you and I do. Like we can go through some DIY distributor like CD Baby or whoever, DistroKid, TuneCore, somebody like that, and like have some access to it. But those labels, they've got like big access, and they always win all the, they always win all the disputes and everything. And even the big channels, even the really big channels, have trouble with this. So I started working with this company called 10-2 that they have like that label level access to the content ID system. And so all my stuff runs through them now, which has stopped the piracy, but it also has the unfortunate side effect of like what you're saying, like having, making legitimate users have a harder time using my music. Like I've given permission to churches and stuff. They're like, oh, we got this thing from 10-2. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's super complicated.
Yep.
So, but if you if
It
you want
is.
to do music on YouTube, you just gotta know that like it is a difficult ecosystem in terms of content rights management. So you can get all like copyright stuff. It's crazy.
So I released it. I do drawings, like hand drawings, and a lot of people don't know this about me. It's, a lot of us have different hobbies.
Oh yeah,
I don't
totally.
fish or hunt. I play guitar as a hobby, and I do YouTube
Yeah,
and stuff. But I also do these hand sketches and stuff, right? Like pencil sketches and all that stuff. And then I do time lapse with it. And I send it out to friends unlisted. They get a link, they can see it, right? But even gets
yeah,
blocked on that. And so ironically, I did use your music for background instead of something, non-copyrighted. That's just some
yeah,
weird lo-fi thing or something that I normally do.
yeah,
I thought, oh well, I'll put Josh's on there, and I'm like, I chose one of your songs and I just screen recorded and I just dropped it in the background. Then I put you on there, like, your channel at the very end of it's like
oh yeah,
minute and 20 seconds or something, time lapse,
yeah,
most of it me drawing it. And then I show your channel, subscribe to them, all this stuff, trying to get, and then in the notes I put, Josh
yeah,
Snodgrass, this is where I find him, blah, 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 blah.
yeah,
And it was so funny because the immediate knee jerk reaction when I sent it out to a group chat, it didn't get blocked for a few minutes. Probably it took a few
yeah,
minutes, like
right.
5 minutes, not long. But anyway, some people they're like, "Oh, that's so cool, we love it." And then they're like, then they knew it got blocked, and their first reaction is, "Well, can't you just talk to Josh?" I'm like, I was like, I'm not gonna text Josh or message him because what's he gonna do? Because I knew what are you gonna do? Like somehow give me some special release so I could make like a 2-minute video? You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
YouTube doesn't work that way. And Rick Beato and all them guys, you were alluding
yeah,
to them, the big channels. I mean, they've
yeah,
gone to court even over stuff
yeah,
and all that. It's like if I send in like a copyright claim strike or something, like if I send some fight against it, where does it go? Like it's just some email to some YouTube thing, and like I have
yeah,
no idea like who's listening, who's reading that. I have no clue, man. It's
yeah.
not like you're
Well,
gonna be able to help me right now to release that. Like that video I did the other day. I just took it down. I'm like, whatever.
yeah, that's the best way with the things that get blocked now for me. It's like we may conceivably be able to get that removed, but
It's just
it
too much
would
work.
yeah, it would not be worth the work probably. But it is crazy. I actually last year was doing when I was doing with piracy. I had this I've had over the last couple of years these YouTubers like they take one of my recordings and release it through a DIY distributor and they claim it as an original composition. So then I get content ID claims on my channel, I mean, a
Oh
lot sometimes for
no.
an original song, I wrote the song, I recorded the song, like I own all the copyright. There's nobody that can claim anything, and yet I'm getting a copyright claim that takes like, so I'll have a video or whatever that's like 3 hours, and I get that copyright claim, and like now all the rights to it are going to some pirate someplace, and
That's
so I'm
insane.
so that's so dealing with all that is what drove me to work with 10-2. But then, like you said, the downside, and and I even deal with it on my own channel too. Like, if I have a short over 1 minute now, it won't post. And so I like when we're on Facebook, I'm okay. Recently did a song, I forget what it was, but had it. So I played through the verse and chorus, and it was like a minute and 20 seconds. Post on Facebook, Instagram, it does good. And then I post on YouTube, and it's like, nope, it's blocked. I'm like, oh boy, I got to record this again without like, I got to arrange it somehow with it where like now I don't have the full verse or something, so I can just squeeze it in there to be a minute. So
I love
it
it.
is a headache dealing with the different platforms where you just gotta, but I mean, that's the world we're living in right now because people
It is.
are
And
spending time just scrolling on their
Different than
phones
YouTube.
instead of,
You get each one's different, right? So TikTok's
yeah,
different than YouTube, and YouTube's different than Instagram. Instagram's a little different than Facebook. Well, they're kind of together now, but
yeah,
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So right, so we deal with that. It's just like people think all the time, like putting out a video before we go into the next section here, my questions for you. But people think you just plug a guitar into a computer, you just play a whole bunch. You know, people that don't understand what we're talking about, you know, they just go, oh, you just can be famous now, a musician. Why do musicians complain about all this? You can just be on Instagram and get a bazillion followers. Well, that's not how it works. And you know as well as I, you need DIs and you need to be able to edit it. And then you got to not only put it on there, but know where do I hashtag in the description, do I hashtag on the video itself, in the title, you know what I mean? And then a thumbnail,
Yeah.
like Rick Beato and them talking about a thumbnail, or them guys, you know, they have a thumbnail, a video goes up and it doesn't do that well. They just take it down, change the thumbnail, and it does better. You know, it's like, okay, these are things like you
Yeah.
don't really, nobody teaches you these things, like, you know, in music
Well,
theory
it's changing
class.
all the time. So
Yes.
it's hard. It is hard to keep up with it all. I'm not great at
Difficult.
Instagram or Facebook,
Tim
like figuring out
Pierce.
all that stuff.
Tim Pierce, you
Yeah.
ever watch his stuff? Tim Pierce, the
No.
sessions musician. Oh yeah, he's big out there too. Oh yeah, out in California, he's been on albums with Bon Jovi was his first one, Runaway. He was actually
Yeah.
on there with yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
yeah, back in the '80s. So he's got a good channel. He talks about the thumbnail thing. It's like it's his headache, where
Oh
his
yeah.
channel is huge, and he'll put up a video and get to him like 8,000 views in a few minutes is nothing, an hour, you know. So he pulls it down and he goes through five different, takes him hours to figure out what thumbnail, and he puts up a good thumbnail and it comes up and oh well, there's 100,000 views. Okay, just because of the thumbnail, the content didn't even change.
Yeah, a couple years ago, I had a video that it was my first 8 hour video, and I posted it, and it did not do good at first, and I was like, I know this video should go well, and I changed, I just changed the tint a little bit to the thumbnail, and then put it up, and now that video's got like millions of views.
It's incredible.
And it's just crazy the little subtleties of it. But I guess to show how competitive it is,
Crazy.
with platforms where you've like you're just fighting for that little edge with the algorithm to where they're going to show it to a lot of people.
So I do want to ask you a different question based on equipment. You talked about all your recording equipment and what you kind of do and everything, and six inputs, like you said in the last one. But what about if you're
Yeah.
showing up live somewhere to play? What do you take for a live gig?
Yeah. Well, I've tried a million different things, and I have never, arrived at the solution where I'm like, this is the perfect forever solution here. There's always problems,
Of
or
course.
challenges, limitations. So at first I was using a Marshall, I think it's AS50, I believe that, that acoustic Marshall amp. Love that amp. That thing is great. And I'd use that as a monitor, point it up at myself, plug in. It's got great reverb. Um, and the other thing that's so cool about that is that a small gigs, you can use it as a PA because you can plug in a microphone too, so you can talk to the audience or you can sing or whatever you're going to do. It's got some good chorus on there, but the reverb is really just golden. And so I would use that, but then I'd have the problem still of the fact that well, I fly places quite a bit, and so then it's like you got this amp now. I mean, so I've never actually flown with amp just because it's like it just gets to be too much. You're carrying merch and carrying your guitar and everything. It's a lot. I don't have roadies that travel with me. I'm always by myself. So unless one of my sons will come with me, they come with me sometimes to help out. But an amp is not something we're flying around with. And so I have tried pedals. I've got the Hall of Fame reverb pedal. I think when you're doing fingerstyle guitar, reverb is key. So that's another one that's really good. And it's nice because it's just a tiny little thing and it sounds great. But then, I've tried, for a while, I was using this little Mackie board and I would actually do my own little in-ear mix that I would have every time. That worked good. Those old Mackie boards are really, really good things. But like I said, that Boss Octave pedal, that's kind of a cool thing I've been doing. I think I did build a pedal board, been using that kind of off and on. I think that probably in the long term, or my next thing I'm going to try is probably going, like when I fly places, going with just the Boss Octave pedal and the reverb pedal, that Hall of Fame, and just running through those with separate channels and using a DI in, and I might even mix it myself. I have a little mixer on the floor where I mix it and send them one feed. Because I've seen one thing that's too funny, and you'll probably get a kick out of this. So when you run the guitar through the Boss Octave pedal, it drops your lowest note down an octave, and you just get that. It sounds like a bass. Soundmen, they can't handle it. It's like it's too much power for them. They just go crazy, like, "Oh, I love that," and they crank it up, and like it is obnoxious. I mean, it's just always obnoxiously loud. And I'm like, I can't get them to turn it down. I'm like, no, I just want the guitar to sound full. I don't want to sound like there's a bass player overpowering everything I do. But they're just like, no, I can't stand the power. So so that's why I'm thinking I want to mix it myself probably and just
So
give
do you give
them,
them like a mono out, or do you give them like a
yeah, yeah,
stereo
probably a
of the
mono
same
out. Yeah,
mono
probably a
out?
mono
Okay,
out
so
where
you
it's
show up, you're playing through a PA through the church or something, and you give them a mono out.
yeah,
So it's one. You
yeah,
only need one input then, right?
yeah, one
Unless
input. Yeah.
unless they give you a mic, then you need two for something.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've done. The little Mackie board I have, it's 1202, and it's actually got two XLR outputs, which are it's got a switch in the back. You can actually set it to microphone level, which is great because I mean, typically you think dropping it to mic level send it, but so a lot of times sound people they just like you're sending me a a line level signal through an XLR. I can't take it. So you just it's just easy then because it's like they've always got that mic set up. They're used to mics being plugged in. So I can mix with that thing and send them mic level signals through the snake. And it's real,
That's
if I
cool.
and I can set, like pan the guitar left and the vocals right, and they got two channels coming in through two XLR cables, and it's easy, right?
So it's
So
essentially like a mono for each one coming out,
totally,
and
yeah.
then they can just do whatever they want. They can
Yep,
then
and they can
plug
just
those in.
turn up the voice and I always tell them too, like set that EQ flat, just let me mix it. If you need to change something, that's okay, but please don't touch it very much.
Do you tell them to
Um,
turn compression off then because you have ability
Absolutely.
to? Yeah, I do
Yeah,
the same
yeah,
thing, man. Yeah, go
yeah.
for it.
I'm
Yeah,
like, don't, yeah, just want to it's harder in the digital board. Sometimes they don't even know how to just give you a clean channel because there's just they got it built in and they don't know how to turn off the EQ or the compression or whatever. But I'm sorry, I go back there and try to help them figure it out. Well, I always encourage because I've been to hundreds of churches and interacted, yeah, doing 1,000 church concerts. It's like, I mean, that's a lot of reps in interacting with church sound people. And I can tell you that there's two church kind of church sound people I love to deal with. And that's I love it when the person just really knows their system. They've got a great ear. They know everything they're doing. I'm like, thank you, Lord. And then there's the people that like don't know anything and they're like, I don't know. Here's how to turn it on. I mean, like, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. That's great. When you get somebody in between the two, it can be hard, when somebody's like thinks they know what they're doing and they doesn't want to cooperate, or they're just like, no, I'll make you sound good. That is always a challenge. So if
I've
you're a
been
church
there.
sound person and you're in that camp and you have a guest, just let them do what they want to do. I have thought about just going to my own, PA system to where and taking my sons to run sound or whatever, because then we're totally in control. But
I love it.
it can be a good, I think, opportunity to share some things with church sound people. I think like most churches, all the problems with their sound could be fixed with just the fader. You know what I mean? Uh,
Yes,
it's like, and maybe
yes.
so a little bit of EQ. Like it's like so many solutions are right there, and churches will look to all these complicated things. I'm like, no, you just need to turn that one up a little bit and that one down a little bit, and you'll be great. Or roll the bass off in uh, that channel, and like that's really all you need, and it's going to sound a whole lot better. But
Well, I heard you say something that was important. You said flatten the EQ out. I'll shape my sound. I'll shape my sound up
yeah,
from up on stage. Just flatten the EQ. Give me at least some volume to work with. That way I can adjust it right for my guitar.
yeah,
Nothing worse when they give me a low volume, like a high mid and a lot of compression. And I'm like, what am I doing? I can't do anything. Just flatten it all out. Put
yeah.
everything at 5. Put everything in the middle. I'll just work from it from here.
Yeah, well, that is a good way. That's one thing I love about the Maton guitars because there's almost like there's a mixing board right on your mic
Mhm.
preamp. I mean, you've got a sweepable mid EQ on that guitar, which you don't have on a lot of, you go to a lot of churches, they might not have a sweepable mid EQ. So that's been one thing that I've been, I often just wish I could mix my own guitar, and that's one thing I've kind of been looking at doing is like having, and I got a wireless for this purpose actually, to where I can wirelessly go out and sound check my guitar myself when I'm playing it. I'm like, give me the flat thing. I go out and play it. I'm like, okay, I'll adjust my settings right here or on my pedals or whatever. Sounds great. Okay. And if there's a problem, then we can go back and deal with it at the board. But generally speaking,
I've
um,
even hold on. I'm not no money for this. It's not a product review, but say I'll use this a lot. This Boss.
oh
This
yeah.
this Boss has a looper and everything in it
Oh,
too. So sometimes
nice.
if the church is struggling a little bit, this has reverb, delay, and looper. I'll loop myself. I'll just give myself eight bars and I'll loop it. And then with
Yeah.
my wireless, I walk out into the thing and I'm like listening. Then I start playing over it to hear how it sounds. Like you said, like
Yeah.
Then I've even gone to the board and they're like freaked out, like, what? I'm like, I'm looping up there. I have a wireless. I'm standing next to you at the board and I'm playing. It's just like
Yeah,
just a cheap wireless thing I use from Amazon for about $50 that I've got for guitars. It's like it helps solve some of those
yeah.
things. So on this note, what's happened to you? I love asking this question. What's been something that's happened to you out there, like a broken string that you've been able to deal with, or something interesting like that? You've played so many gigs. You've got to have something that's gone.
The fullness of Murphy's Law is kicking in for me now. Like it's starting like when you do something 1,000 times, it's like you start to get where like, okay, there's been a lot that's gone wrong over the but one of the more memorable things was there's a time I was touring in California and it was one of those situations where I was like, uh, I left the hotel, drove a couple hours, went to go do the concert that I was at like a Saturday night or something. Got to the church, was loading in. I'm taking trips, right? And I go back and I'm like, where's my guitar? My guitar's in the hotel room that I had left. And so I'm like, man, it's a couple hours away. This concert starts in an hour, and I'm a couple hours away from the hotel room. I'm like, oh boy, wow, this is great. Just great problem. And so I went and explained to the pastor. Of course, how do you go and tell a pastor that? So I came to play guitar. Like I'm doing a guitar concert. Like that's all that's happening tonight is the guitar, and there is not a guitar. Like I don't know what happened to it. It's in the hotel room,
Can't you just put your
and
YouTube channel through the PA and pretend?
yeah, so fortunately, he had like a brand new, I think it's a brand new Taylor hanging on the wall, and he was a guitar player too. And so I got to play that. And so throughout the concert, of course, I'm like adjusting to this thing, learning to play it. The other thing was I used drop D capo a lot, like a ton. I use drop D capo all the time. And so and that was also back in my guitar case. So I had to use like a standard capo from the bottom, which is just harder to it's hard to work
How to
with, but
manipulate
so
with it? Yeah,
yeah, so I was kind of like I was struggling a little bit, but
I love it.
yeah, that was one. There's been all kinds of things over the years
You broke any
that have
strings at
happened.
all? Have you ever had a string break, a
So
high
I
E or a B or anything?
no, when I'm playing fingerstyle guitar, I do not break strings. In fact, I don't even take spare strings to gigs. Like I go on a tour, I'm going to be on a tour for 2 months. There's no spare strings, you know. So I've never broken a string actually. I used to when I played electric, I'd break them all the time, but I don't know. Somehow my guitars, even like when I'm leading worship, I will strum, but I just never break strings.
I'm not a guy who breaks them really either. I
Yeah,
don't know. I have dry fingers too. I've dry skin.
yeah,
So for me, what I mean, the oil on people's hands can mess with the strings and frets and all that, and
yeah. I
I
do
don't.
use coated strings, so that might help some.
Oh yeah, what kind
Because
of strings? What kind of strings do you prefer right now?
I use Elixir strings, and I use coated Elixirs. They're 10 to 47s, so I like them. Oh yeah, 11 to 52s. I go with the light ones. I used to work construction, and I've got some like I think it's probably like mild frostbite nerve damage in my fingers. So which is a problem for me. That's like my biggest hiccup as a guitar player is like I get like pinched nerves in the tips of my fingers a lot. But especially my little finger. But so I go with really light strings. I tune my guitar down a step, for that reason too, just make it easy to play.
A
Um,
little more slack in the playing a
yeah, a little
little
more slack.
bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah,
Tension's a
and
little
plus
less then.
it's deeper. You get that deeper tone, easier to play. So
I think
I like to do that.
I've been experimenting with oh I dropped my E's to D. I dropped my E's to D's.
Yeah,
And then I just been playing everything in D lately, just for on purpose with that, because playing solo acoustic where I'm strumming up and then I'm playing that man, it's really cool. And you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
I just
yeah,
drop.
totally.
I love it.
Yeah,
So do
I've
you
been
experiment
playing
with
with
any type of alternate tunings in, or are you just using your capos to kind of mess around with it?
well, I do both. For the longest time, I just was in standard tuning all the time. Well, or a tuned down variant of it, but and then I would use like a drop D capo or a dadgat capo
Mhm.
a bunch. But over the last couple of years, I've started using some alternate tunings. I've been doing a lot of open C, or I'll do open C, but then I'll turn the C up to a D and use my drop D capo on the second fret. That way, you don't end up with a fifth fret uh,
Mhm.
four chord.
Yep.
Because that can be to me, anytime you do go with a drop, if you drop that bass note, like if you use drop D or you end up at uh, having to reach for that fourth bass note, which in fingerstyle, that's can be a real pain.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. So yeah, I get. So the open tunings could be beneficial. I like the drops because of a different timbre, like a voice, you get a different timbre out of it. So it makes me
Totally. Yeah.
play a little different, and I do
Yeah. Well, that's
hybrid. So
it's good when you can like I think just freshen things up.
hmm
It's really key because I I mean, for me as a guitar player, there's kind of this balance of inspiration because sometimes I get too inspired and I'll hurt myself, and I probably a lot of your listeners have done this too, where you're like, oh, I love the guitar so much, you're gonna play 4 hours a day, and now you've got tendonitis, right? So you gotta back way off, or you got whatever problems you end up having from playing too much. Then other times you're like, I don't even care about the guitar. I don't want to pick it up. I'm bored with it. I hate playing guitar. When you hit that plateau where you're just like, I don't even know what I want to play. And so managing your inspiration is, I think, a key thing in the long term as a guitar player is keeping it at a good level, which is really, really hard. And so things I do is I will switch to an open tuning I've never done before if I'm needing more inspiration. Um, Things like switching up which pedals you're playing with, that can give you a fresh feel. Watching really inspiring players. There's sometimes when I don't watch a lot of fingerstyle players because I'm like, no, I'm playing so much right now. I don't need to watch Tommy and have him make me want to play 4 hours a day or something. And he probably plays more than that. I don't know. But for me, starting playing like hours and hours a day, it's like I just get hurt. So um, but there's really, like you're talking about before, taking like that course where you're like learning the jazz things or whatever, all those different little fresh things can add a new sense of life to your playing. For me too, going different places, like going out and playing on a park bench or something, that's different than just being in my room playing the same place I always play. So that's
love
worth a try, probably. As far as just general tips for intermediate players looking to, progress and things, I think that one thing I always kind of encourage players to do is that you don't like if you can develop your sense of control on the guitar where you have more dynamics in your picking, because we tend to kind of think like, well, I need to just play all the right notes at the right time. And I've had to tab out a lot of my recordings because people ask me for guitar tab, and so I do it myself. And I'll go back and listen to recordings, and I'm like, wow, that little note's barely audible, and this one's really loud. And so when you listen to, I think we listen to my stuff. I think that one of the strengths is the dynamics and that really adds a lot of life to music. Versus if you listen to like when I put it in Guitar Pro, when I listen to it played back, all the notes are the same volume, and I'm like, this sounds like it was played by a robot, right? So and I think that sometimes I hear intermediate players playing and it can sound um, like, I mean, basically the thing I usually hear is like, that's good. It sounds good, but with a little bit more control in your picking, it would sound amazing. Um,
I
Not to
agree.
discourage anyone that's struggling with that, but and one exercise that has really helped me is taking a piece, maybe a song or a passage of a song or whatever, and like playing it as quiet as you possibly can. Like you're trying not to wake up your baby that's in the same room. You're just like, I'm just this as quiet as I possibly can, and then playing it like at full volume, and then going back to playing quiet again, playing loud again, and like I think for me that when I um, doing that really made an enormous difference in my playing because it helps me think about the volume. And now I don't think about the volume really. When I'm playing, it's just like it just kind of happens automatically, and that's what you want eventually. You want that muscle memory where your hands just know what to do already. Like I'm never thinking about what string am I going to pick or what, how loud is this note going to be? It just my hand just knows what to do. Um, and that's like kind of like when you get to that point, it's so freeing, because you don't have to think about it. So and then it's so beautiful too. And I think that the thing is about when you develop control of your picking and really get that sense of mastery in your picking, then pretty much everything you play is beautiful. It sounds great. And I always think about this thing. It's like what you do. I mean, assuming you're a right-handed guitar player, it's like your left hand is what people watch, and people maybe are impressed with, oh, look, he did that run and he's going up the neck or whatever. And people watch that, but your right hand is what they listen to. And you can play almost nothing. I mean, you can do some really simple stuff with this left hand and then, but if you're picking well, like if your picking hand is masterful, like it just sounds amazing. So, and that's where the heart comes through. That's where just that feeling, that soul, the thing that makes music human and alive and beautiful, the thing that AI can't replicate, that's your right hand picking. So get really good at that. And I mean, I've even done things like, I've just muted the strings and picked and things, just doing different picking exercises, just trying to get where it's just really automatic. It's kind of nice when you mute the strings with your left hand and you pick, then it's like you're just focusing on the rhythm and just you can just focus on picking. You don't have to think about shifting around and stuff, which that has helped me. You don't want to do it too much because then sometimes you can be, oh, I've got a scrapey tone here, and so you want to go back and forth if you're going to try that. Um, but again, that thing playing really loud, really quiet, or going back and forth. And a lot of times, I think one thing I've realized is that it, I think I used to try to play guitar too loud, especially when I play live. I get there and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try loud because I can't hear myself well enough. I want to hear it. And so I'm going to just crank it up. I mean, I'm not crank it up. I'm going to play really loud. And the acoustic guitar, it doesn't sound very good when you pick it loud. It just sounds all twanky and weird. And so I listened back to live recordings and like, that sounds kind of bad. And so if you can learn to really play softly and let the PA system do the work, just turn up the volume knob. It'll be okay if you can't hear yourself, or turn up your monitor or whatever. And sometimes it's almost like you would turn up your monitor where it sounds like it's too loud to you, and then that forces you like, oh, you just got to play nice and quiet, and then you'll get a lot better tone.
I love it. I've to this point working on dynamics and all this stuff. It's totally changed how I play guitar, approach it, how I listen to it. And there's two things I want to bring up. One is there's something called, I used to call it practice level. So I'd show up on a worship team in town, a big church. We had like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people come to a service. There's click tracks and all that stuff. And we're timed in. And we had that practice level because before people showed up. And there was a certain level we're all playing it. The whole band's playing. And the sound guy's like, I got it down. Here we are. Now we walk off stage. Everybody comes in, go back to the platform, and we start playing like louder, like our level is louder, and you see the sound guy over there like, oh no, because it's like we're all like now all of a sudden got a little adrenaline rush because people are
Yeah,
looking at, instead we're at practice level, we're just playing, they adjust everything, sounds so good. I don't know if you experienced that, and you come back out, now all of a sudden the people are there and you're just like, now your right hand becomes like harder all of a sudden. It's just like what you said, it's a great point to try to keep that under control, or like you said, turn up the monitor a little bit more so that sounds like you're louder, so you will quiet down and let the guitar express its sounds.
yeah,
and
yeah,
and I think the greatest compliment I've had to me in the last few years, studying and practicing and one-on-one lessons with my friend Nana, who's on my channel doing a review of the K-line guitars and stuff. And one of the greatest compliments I ever had isn't so much like, "Wow, you're amazing." That's not the compliment. It's I had a guy a couple times come see me play acoustic, and he was amazed that because of the dynamics, I was literally able to change the level of the guitar sound so I could quiet it down.
yeah,
If we're leaving a chorus, going into a bridge, and I always say bridges build, and we know
yeah,
modern contemporary worship, Bethel, and
yeah,
all this, you have four bridges, six bridges. And then as you go through the song, if I don't have a volume pedal or anything, I'm on acoustic playing. It's like as I'm going through them bridges, and I just start playing a little bit more to it, and then back down all of a sudden, and some guy was like, "How is that happening?" Like you're not using a volume pedal. Like I don't understand. Like it sounded, it has to do with what you're saying. So thanks for bringing that up. That dynamic issue is like right because you can make that guitar almost get to a point where it comes off the rails. It's kind of like an amp being pushed so hard it becomes blurry. But you
yeah,
want edge of breakup, to edge of breakup. You can literally do that with just your hands to the acoustic, or you can bring it back down to a quiet level. So thanks for bringing that up. I think that's great
sure.
advice. I love it.
Well, I think even for worship teams or any musician, like the way you make your big parts sound really big is by making your quiet parts quieter. And like you said in modern worship, that if you're coming into the bridge, you're just a whisper. It's just so quiet, and people are like kind of like, they've got the attention because they're like it's almost like they lean forward to hear it because it's so quiet. But if you make it quiet and beautiful, then you've got some place to go, and you incrementally can build it up and get to where your normal volume now sounds, wow, that's huge, as opposed to trying to make the loud part louder than because you've got a hard threshold at the top end of how loud that guitar can be.
Where
It
can you
just you
go
cannot
from
go
there?
anywhere.
You
Yeah,
can't
you
go
can't go
anywhere.
anywhere.
You can't go
Yeah.
anywhere. Yeah, I promise I wouldn't try to talk over you. Right there, you and I said the
Oh yeah.
same thing at the same time. It's like
Yeah.
it's just a pet peeve of mine. I can't tell you how many places I've been at a bar with people listening or a restaurant, and I can't listen if there's this wall of sound coming at you. I call it
Mhm.
the wall of sound. So if you have two guitars or a guitar player and a really loud piano player and a really loud guitar player, you got the bass and you got the drums and you got two singers or three singers and a decent band. And it's just like the same volume just coming at you song after song. It never does any dynamics. And I've been at churches visiting that wall of sound just comes at me. It's like they start the song, there they are. And the whole song is this. And then they end. And the next song, it's just like I can't get into it. It's a pet peeve of mine. I'm like,
It's kind
I
of a
need
church.
something a little bit like we don't talk like that.
Yeah.
We talk a little low, then we get a little louder, right? I coach soccer, I did for years. And it's like if I'm talking to the kid on the sideline, it's like this, hey, I need you to get in there. I want you to play center mid and not defense. I want you to control your passes. Now they're out on the field. I'm like, and they're running by. Hey, I need you to slow down. It's like
Yeah.
you have a purpose for that. So,
Yeah.
uh,
That's I
I
think
digress.
the church worship team trap is like everybody playing all the time, all the same volume, right? And so it's, if you just, yeah, take some turns, somebody do that intro, drop out here and there, just like think about that stuff. And but I think think about it in your fingerstyle arrangements too. Like your bass note does not have to be going the whole time. I think some of the most powerful times in some of the recordings when I look back on, it was like just the top two strings were always playing at the end. Maybe it was just like a melody and a harmony. And there is no chords, there is no bass note. It's just this, it sounds like an a cappella part, but it's different. And so it stands out. Or sometimes, you can just drop out and just have the lower end or, do different things, I guess. Um, yeah, so same thing applies to fingerstyle, just not just in terms of volume, but also in terms of arrangement, where you're making use of different creative ideas or, putting your melody in different range or something.
So I'm gonna ask you something kind of fun right now. Let's think about some favorite albums. I'll give you a second here. Start imaging something. Doesn't matter what field, what range, or what dynamic, or what genre. So just think about a couple albums that you would recommend people to listen to. So give me your three, give me up to five, give me a few albums you recommend. Somebody's sitting around right now, they got their phone out, they're listening to this, they're like, oh, I like this guy, Josh. I like what he's saying. So go ahead, give me a few albums you recommend.
Well, I can, I guess that's a hard thing to do. I uh I think back to I can think to some of the albums that really impacted me. I know when I was maybe like 22, or I can't remember how old I was exactly, that Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack came out. And that was one that really really hit me. I think that also they had that live concert that, I mean, you can probably find it on YouTube or something, they did when to promote the movie, but they had those musicians. That was really amazing. Both those things together, I guess the album that was out, that really kind of impacted me. I hadn't really been into that style of music before that, and that kind of opened up a lot of different things to me. I think also Tommy's Little by Little, that's actually a double album. That one really impacted me. Just great stuff on there. Just stunning playing. It's Tommy just at his best for sure. I mean, not to say his stuff since then isn't his best, but that one was really impactful in my life, I guess. I'm going to throw out a piano player, and I'm not even going to give you a specific album. I'm just going to say like anything he does is awesome. Dan Musselman or Musselman, I'm not even sure how you say his name. He's a YouTuber. His stuff, he is brilliant. Just the way he ties melody and stuff. He does a lot of instrumental worship stuff, and also just instrumental stuff that he composes. But I find his stuff really to be a bright spot out there in the world of music these days. Trying to think of what else would, like in terms of specific album. Uh, I don't even know what else to say about that, I guess.
It's pretty good. You named a few, and I'll
Yeah,
post some pictures and stuff, while you're talking
yeah,
about that, and hopefully some people will go check that stuff out and get back to us,
yeah,
because it is
yeah.
funny. I always love to hear what people are influenced by. But so if I was to pull out grab your phone from you right now, take it and say, what's Josh listening to? Like, what's the latest thing you've been listening to? What's like the last few things, like music wise, you've been listening to on your phone?
That is a great question. So I don't even listen to music on my phone, but on my computer,
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
if you pull up my tabs right now, one of them is Cornerstone by Hillsong. I've been working on that one, playing that, and so I've been listening to it a bunch. So usually the stuff I listen to a lot is what I'm working on right now. I've also been doing that Elevation song, "I Trust in God." That one's cool. And um, what else have I been listening to? Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what else
I
there is
never
on
know.
there.
Fair enough. I mean, you
I was listening to some Phil Keggy stuff because I did a collab with him recently, and so I went and had made a playlist of some of his hymns that he's played, and so I was listening, of course, listened to Phil Keggy many times, but that's been something that came up recently.
Acoustic Sketches is still one of my most favorite albums. Number two, the second album, and the Lights of Madrid is just fantastic. And then there's the three piece he did about 10 years ago now, where it's a power trio. Where he did, oh my goodness, it's incredible. It's so
Yeah.
good. And then he just put out a new one. It's a just recently. It's him and a drummer, or him and a bassist and drummer. I think it's a duo or a trio. It's one of his new ones, and it's excellent, kind of jazz style. I like it a lot.
Oh, interesting. I have to check that out.
Yeah, 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 definitely. I mean, just type in Phil Kagi
Yeah.
and just find his latest one. It's cool, like artwork. It's kind of like a guitar and like drum set or
Oh,
something.
neat.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just fun. But and let me ask you this then. What was your wedding song? Do you remember? Put you on the spot. Hopefully your
Yeah.
wife won't be watching. Go ahead.
So here's the deal. Me and my wife, we actually got married in a courthouse, so we did not have like, the traditional wedding.
Hmm.
Um, we back then, what we always say is like, I mean, at that time we were listening to that first big Nora Jones album. Do you remember that?
Adam Levy
That
on
was
guitar. Ooh,
Yeah, we always say that's our, kind of our music was,
fair enough.
so I would think of that probably.
All right, amen to that. Well, thanks for being on the show, Josh. I really appreciate it.
Yep. Well, thanks for having me.